Pisces, welcome to your weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast. This is for March 28th through April 3rd of 2016. I'm Athen, and this is for Sidereal Astrology. If you are new to the channel, be sure to check out the link down below because the signs are different. All right, so Pisces, another important week in this month of March going into April. There is a shifting taking place with some aspects finishing up here at the end of March and April 1st, leading into a different type of energy for April. But this week is still very much about applying and implementing a lot of this eclipse energy, particularly from last week, which was that lunar eclipse in Virgo. So with that, that was an illumination last week of, I think, your relationships, what can be improved with your perspective on others, on one-to-one connections, partnerships, things like that. It's all about Virgo of improving that area. And it's a sort of status checkpoint in terms of how are the relationships going in your life? How is your perspective on them and that sort of thing? And then through that insight, it's a good week for applying and implementing those insights. So this week we are, like I said, coming off of some important aspects from March, and one is this Jupiter squaring up to Saturn, as well as the South Node conjoining up to Chiron, as you can see here, finishing up on the 1st. So with this Saturn squaring up to your ruler Jupiter, this is suggesting that this life path is shifting for you to really cultivate your routine or your self-improvement, your diet, your regiments, the grounded energies of your spiritual growth. And so a lot of this you're learning about with Jupiter retrograde. Maybe you're learning more about your work or your crafts, those routines. But with the North Node here, it's suggesting that it's a good time to implement it. It's a good time to move forward with it and cultivate these things in your life. But with that square from Saturn, Saturn is saying, but not without patience, not without persistence and hard work with the daily stuff. And that's been a Saturn in your 9th house, helping you really ground and take seriously the possibilities of life, how you can rework, redo right now with Saturn retrograde, these things you're building along the life journey, along the life path, so you can have a healthy amount of purpose and adventurous spirit and opening those horizons, which is that 9th. And you're probably quite direct on that right now at the moment too with Mars in the 9th, so making it quite good for, I think, either doing physical exercise or activities out in nature, or something to do with really getting down to the bottom of things philosophically, or with your worldview, or with spirituality or whatnot. So that's, like I said, the last part of March with that grounded approach to the life path. But now also over here in your first house with Pisces, there's a lot of energy taking place here this week. One of which has been the South Node conjoining up to Chiron in your first house, which has been this healing taking place, and you healing this new sense of self, because Chiron recently went in here, so you guys are going through this deep healing with self in terms of maybe some old wounds coming up about identity, about who you are, maybe your goals in life and these types of matters. So nothing new with that, but a good week to continue to heal with that and to release any old imbalances or any old perspectives about self and those kinds of things. But with Venus going over here, there is that transformation really being actualized Tuesday and Wednesday. So first of all, with Venus in your first house, you guys are probably feeling good, or can be feeling good, looking good. Maybe the relationships are a little bit more in the forefront this week. Your sun's here. Happy birthday for those of you Pisceans who have your sun sign birthdays this week. But for all of you, you're gaining a lot of energy and prana to express yourself, maybe to cultivate those goals, those things that you want to pursue in life, your self-image, etc. And you are, I think, learning a bit about yourself and maybe about communication and exchanging and that sort of stuff. But with this this week, with Venus going over this, there's some healing again, and this is specifically with healing the communication, since Venus rules your 3rd house, healing your sense of identity when it comes to your beauty, your connection, any wounds around that, as well as maybe even the deeper aspects of life, where you can have openness and vulnerability with yourself and others. And that can be very deep and meaningful in that way. And usually when Venus does go into your first house, it does become a bit of a deeper time for you to really cultivate that deep truth of who you are. And in this case, expressing it. So some good things to reflect on Tuesday and Wednesday in terms of balancing the self, if there's been any over-under extremes with your own goals, your own self-interest, bringing balance to that. And I think a lot of that's from healing any old wounds relating to the self, relating to the communication, or maybe these deeper aspects of life. Now, Mercury is going to be squaring up to Pluto this early part of the week, Tuesday and Wednesday as well, and trining up to Saturn. So there is, first of all, good productiveness, I think, about this week, this early part, from Saturn trining up to your first house like this. And this might be, again, through the communicating and stuff, maybe supportive with the home life and the relationships to get nice and grounded. But with the square from Pluto, it's suggesting that those areas might have this bit of intensity about them. And this is a type of intensity that's been so important for you guys to make changes with your career, to make changes with your future life path, particularly on the productive sense, which is that 10th house. So it's all about non-attachment with Pluto. So the more non-attached you've been with the outcomes of career and of your public image or whatnot, that's been creating a deep spiritual power for change there. And now with Pluto squaring up to your Mercury in the first house, this is non-attachment to self. Non-attachment to asserting yourself, non-attachment to how you might want things to unfold or your own self-interest. So when you have that, then it becomes very constructive, and then that deep, intense spiritual power can really come through the self, can really come through the communication and exchanges, maybe even in the emotional body and those relationships, since Mercury rules both your 4th and your 7th house there. So it's all about working with it constructively, openness to change, perhaps even funneling in some of that productive energy to get those things moving in your life that you feel like are important for you. Now, that's going to be the earlier part. And then the second half on Thursday, Mercury does go over Uranus. And this is accentuating the fact that this whole past 6 years for you has been about being your true self. With Uranus and Pisces, it's about you being who you truly are. Your eccentric self, unorthodox, different. And all of that is really coming to the forefront this later part of the week in terms of how you can apply it, maybe have freedom in your relationships, have freedom around home, family, or health, and things to listen to in regards to having a healthy way of integrating it. Because Mercury is still going to be technically squared up to Pluto, I think it's good to just have a healthy approach to having freedom of being yourself. But in either case, listen to that intuition. I think it's good to apply it practically with Mercury. So that's it for the major aspects. Now, no major aspects over the weekend, but I do want to cover the fact that the moon is going to be in Capricorn. So it could be a good weekend for maybe connecting with friends or group things or your ideals or internet or technological stuff with the moon here. But again, this is all in the perspective of the fact that this is a week of implementing these insights that have been coming to you about relationships or one-to-one connections from that eclipse in your 7th house. All right, Pisces, so have an excellent week. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next week.